Looks like today we've got another green day in the altcoin market, thanks to Bitcoin, of course, because it is dragging up the altcoin. So I just wanted to talk about this because the last time we saw this kind of pop was on the 30th of May. So it wasn't too long ago, it was less than a week ago. But it does look like this pop is a bit different because as soon as we reached this area of support and we bounced up, we pulled back only a little bit on the moving average here, and then we bounced right back up. And now we're continuing to move higher. Again, there's not enough strength in this kind of move. As you can see, the kind of strength that we're seeing, and this is for Injective, by the way, is not the same as we've seen here on the 21st of May when it just went straight from $24 all the way up to $28.50, even above it, right? And then it started pulling back. What's different here is that if we look at the Bitcoin chart, we can see that the kind of pop that Bitcoin is getting is definitely different than that of the altcoins, right? There's definitely more strength here when it comes to the way it moves, and this is on the 1 hour chart. Like ever since the 12th of May, 11th of May, when it was trading below 61k, in just a number of days it popped all the way up to over 70k. So there was definitely a lot of strength there, as you can see. And then even though we pulled back a little bit to the moving average, which is expected right after this kind of massive run, it has to cool down a bit. It did cool down to 67k, the low 67k, and then it just went up now today to 71.5k, thus pulling up the alt. So I do think we do have a bit more fuel here for the altcoins and for Bitcoin as well. It's probably not going to be very easy to break this because, as you can see, given that there was a bit of a resistance here on the last pop, and now we are struggling at that resistance, it could be tricky for Injective to go higher, right? Because Injective is encountering a bit of a resistance in this year, and then it has a lot more resistance around 2680 because of all this here. And as you can see, it got to this, right, to 2680, and then it just bounced down, right, because of this area of resistance, which is quite hard to break. But once you break that, it then has this area of resistance around $28.80, and then only when it breaks $28 can we get bullish again. Like really, Injective needs to be over $30 for us to see that kind of momentum that's going to trigger the real altcoin move here, at least for Injective, because again, altcoins do move differently depending on the altcoin. I see if we take a look here at the way it moved in November of 2023, right, went to $18.60, then it cooled off around $14.90, $15, and then it had that really nice ride along the moving average here on the 1 hour chart, and then it just kept on bouncing higher and higher. It did try to put in a lower low here, which would have signaled loss of strength here, the fact that it could have moved into a downtrend again. At least for traders, this is what it would seem like, because look, lower high here, and then lower low here, right, compared to these other ones. So this would have signaled, that we were moving down, but because of the overall market conditions, it has managed to pop higher. So it tricked all the traders, and then it continued to move higher. And then look at this, like the higher high here was the signal that it was going to move higher, and then it just ripped, absolutely ripped here when it had those massive pops one after the other. So I don't know if we're going to see one of those again. I do think we need that altcoin rally to really start again to trigger it. But until then, it's hard to say. At least the way it's moving right now, it's not looking likely that we're going to see over $30 right now. There's just not enough strength, and it is a lower high. Remember, right? This was the higher high, this was the lower high, and now we're on a lower high once again. Although it is quite similar to this one, it's pretty similar to this one. I wouldn't say that it might not get to the same level and then maybe just pull back a bit. Or hopefully, like I said, it could break it. Like once it breaks this, and if it does break it, if it does go to like $28 here, and we retest this area, we'll have to see if it manages to break past this area here around 2850, right? Like until I see Injective break 2850, I'm not going to be super bullish on it. But nevertheless, it's nice to see that it does move with the Bitcoin price as it should do, because if it doesn't, that's a bit of a concern. Although it has lost quite a momentum, given that Bitcoin's price was not that high at the last time it got to over $28, right? It was trading at like 69k, whereas now Bitcoin is at 71.5k, and we're seeing Injective struggle with $2 below that. So it just tells us that there's more altcoin dumping happening behind the scenes, and then we've got that Bitcoin dominance as well because more people are buying Bitcoin. So yeah, we'll have to see how things go here, but yeah, it's too early to say for sure. Like, I'm not seeing loss of strength here. There was a little bit on this attempt here earlier on in the morning after the initial pop to 26.89. It started losing some momentum here, and then it just picked back up again. So now I'm thinking, if the Bitcoin price manages to hold well, I'm thinking that it could possibly get to that $28 level once again. Again, it's hard to say. I'm just thinking this is what could happen. So I have not placed a long trade on this yet because it's a bit late for me to do it. But I'm waiting to see what happens in case I get an opportunity for a short trade, because that could potentially happen if I see that loss of strength. I'm thinking a short trade. I do hold a bag of Injective as well for the long run, but I also like to trade Injective because it is quite volatile in the way it pops and also dumps, especially with Bitcoin. So yeah, I just wanted to do this quick video and just talk about this, just to kind of show you how Bitcoin does have a lot more strength in it. There are a lot more buyers right now. The old coins are still struggling. Atom is not doing great. DOT is not doing that great, but they are on a green day today. It's just that they're not performing as well as they could have given the Bitcoin price right now.